So about 8 years back, I released my very first video on a woman formerly known as Candace Owens and will now forever be known as Cuckoo Candace or Conspiracy Candace, the Queen of Confusion, Qatari Candace at certain points, etc. But when I put that video out, the feedback was probably 50-50 at that time. This was, again, 8 or 9 months back. Folks were not having it. They were calling it slanderous. They were saying that, I was a hater, that I was another black conservative trying to take her spot and these certain types of things. But at that point, I'd gotten to a place where I was finally bold enough. Stop being a coward, right? As opposed to just boldness. No, I got to a place where I felt that I could not hold back the thing that I truly believed because I had seen who this woman had become. If I was somebody who genuinely believed in the truth, then I was going to be willing to speak on somebody who used to be a very important part of, I guess, my personal ecosystem, right? This is somebody who I believed to be genuine. And in the time, let's say between 2016 to 2019, when I was coming out of the conservative closet as a young black man looking for different people I could resonate with, and not just because of the color, but when you're getting out of it at first, there is something about seeing people who look like yourself to be like, okay, I'm not crazy on this one. I'm not off on this one because everybody else is sort of trying to keep me in that very same place. So Candace played an important role in my life at that point in time. Now, obviously, when you're allowing somebody into your psyche so often and frequently, it's easy to fall into the trap of making them out to be a god of sort, making them out to be perfect, believing that this person has even the purest of intentions when you know nothing about them. You've never met them. You don't have a personal relationship. You just see them on a screen. Like some of y'all see me on the screen. And as much as I do my best to connect with y'all, it's like when it's all said and done, you only know as much as you see on this camera. You don't know what goes on behind the scenes, though I'm somebody who I live my life as best as I can in the same way here as I would anywhere else. Right? But even me saying that, you shouldn't just believe me just because I said it. I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but that just has to be said. We're entering into an age where you need godly discernment, God's discernment more than ever before. Matter of fact, I'm going to put my little product placement right there. There's my first sponsor right there. Okay, so Candace Owens. Candace Owens is somebody who, fortunately or unfortunately, has been brought to my attention frequently. And some folks out there accuse me of being even obsessed with her and caring so much about her. But truth be told, and you can ask my lady, there were times when I was like, I don't want to talk about, I don't want to go there. I don't want to. And every single time there would be something that would probe me to get into it. And mostly it was targeted towards her audience, the people who were becoming susceptible to her message, to her lies, to her gossip, to her slander, to the stories, these make-believe stories that she would continue to conjure up, her manipulation tactics used, etc. And you might be somebody who's still in what I, referred to early on as the cult of Candace. Right? You might be one of those people who just found yourself in that place, in the cult of Candace Owens, the cult of personality, and you're still in that place. And I completely understand. And I've said some things in the past. I was unredeemed in those times, but, I genuinely feel pity for people in that place. I feel a level of compassion because I know what it is to be in a place where you are believing a lie and, more importantly, believing a liar. It's like, imagine how most true Christians felt when Kanye was having this redemptive moment, and then all of a sudden it was just a slap in the face. He went even crazier. He went worse. One demon left and 7 worse ones came back, right? So I can imagine how it would feel to lose something that feels so close, somebody who you listen to as if they were a part of your own family. Some of us listen to people on the internet more than people in our family. Let's be real. So my intention, even in the beginning, was never from a malicious place necessarily, but I was a lot more strong-armed about my approach, and God started working with my heart on this to soften my heart and to say, look, that's not what this is about. This is about making sure that my children, that the church out there, those who are already listening in and viewing this woman's show, or those who will likely become viewers, those who will fall into that trap. Many are going to leave the left, and it's already been happening. Before Charlie's assassination, there was already happening, but now it's exponential. Folks are leaving the left, political left, and they're looking, they're searching, they're open. And oftentimes they're going to find the most viral people. They're going to find those who have the largest platforms. And so it is irresponsible for you as somebody who has a platform, who knows what is right and what is wrong, especially when God is speaking to you. That's not a suggestion. That is a command. That is a you do it. That's not a possibly or maybe. Just ask Jonah. That's I'm going to get you there regardless, because I am sovereign, or he is sovereign. So led me to a place where I made a multitude of different videos from different angles, whether it was the narcissistic personality of this woman, all the way down to debunking a lot of the points that she claimed to make with this quote unquote evidence behind it. And for anybody who cares to know the truth, it doesn't take much research to realize that a lot of that is nonsense. A lot of what is shared on a daily basis. And even if it was 80% truth and 20% lies, that's still enough lie to corrupt an individual. When it comes to the gospel, you just need 1% lie, and essentially you're leading people astray. You're leading people literally right to hell. So that being said, my final message to her was one about a final warning. And ironically, it came a day before there was an announcement she made that she would be on this 2-week hiatus or whatever it is. But the message became clear as I was recording it. And it was, look, God is calling you into a place of repentance, and this is going to be your final chance. I imagine not to blow her ego up even more, but let's say like a Nebuchadnezzar, right? King of Babylon. And, Daniel comes in and he interprets this dream, and he's going to be turned essentially wild. He's going to be given over to his reprobate mind, for lack of a better term. And he's going to be feasting with the beasts, etc. And this is happening. Honestly, it's a loving correction if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, right? You will not see the true living God as God. And instead, even though you have seen him work, you still, worship idols and even make yourself to be God. And so I will give you over to that debased mind. There was a warning that came to me that was, this woman is going to be given over. And some folks think it's just, mental illness or just the grift. And yes, there is a grift because there's lying, manipulation, but there comes a point where you're so far gone. And I said, underlying all of that is really pride, the inability to accept anything from the outside because you view yourself as the supreme. And a lot of that is actually rooted in fear, but that's, again, a conversation for another time. So the message was relatively clear at that point. And this was, again, maybe 2.5 weeks at this point ago, 2 weeks, the day before this announcement about I'm going off the grid. And after I put that out, now there's an announcement of 2 weeks. I'm not saying she watched my video. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I was getting a message that many people were, which was, look, there's going to be a shift that takes place, and there's going to be a point of quote unquote no return. It's not to say that you can't be saved after that you can be redeemed. I don't know if she ever had the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. And I don't know. But all I knew was the message that I got. Then following that came that specific situation. And then all of a sudden there was a video filmed on her phone during this hiatus, with a bunch of these conspiracies, basically insinuating that Trump or Trump's FBI, etc., was involved in Charlie's assassination, along with a host of other kind of whacked out ideas. But I saw that for what it was, and I did a final prayer for her to say, look, we got to pray for her. Like, this woman is gone. But it might be sad for some of y'all to hear this, but this is the final moment where God said, look, this is it. That was her final warning. And for me, this is it. This is the last that you speak of her. All it's doing now is fueling a flame And the flame is the one that's going to incinerate her. Somebody referred to it as like Icarus flying too close to the sun, right? They said, I'm afraid that she's at a point where she has flown too high in the sky and now she will catch a blaze. Yeah. And to that, it's not because I'd ever wish that. I don't desire that. We don't celebrate, as it speaks of in the book of Proverbs, you don't celebrate when your enemy falls, lest that judgment come upon you. Don't celebrate that. Don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about that. I don't feel good when somebody has gone to their sin, when somebody has been given over to their reprobate mind, when somebody's living in that. I don't endorse it. I expose it for what it is, especially those who claim to be Christian and, are misleading God's people. But I don't want to see it happen to anybody, because I know that none of us are without sin. None of us are perfect. But there is a difference between being spirit-filled and really following Christ. You're in a place where you allow him to work on your heart. He is giving you a heart of flesh from a heart of stone. He is transforming you. He is changing you. Your desires change. I use the example of, there might have been times in your life when you would eat an entire box of Oreos and now you can't even stomach one. Your appetite, your desires have changed. Sin tastes different now. You don't want it anymore. As an addict, as a former addict myself, there was times when the dope was doping. I'm gonna be real. It was a fun time. I was lit. We were boxing the car. We were doing whatever. We were on one. And then there came a time when it felt depressing. It felt paranoia riddled. It felt as if it was bondage and I couldn't break out of the thing. It's the exact same thing I'm doing, but it no longer had the same appetite. It no longer had the same sort of appeal to it anymore. And so there's going to come a time when it's like, again, you become a perpetual self-idolater. It don't even feel right, but all you know is just to chase the next view. For Candace, I said the money isn't necessarily the thing. It never was the main thing for her. It was always about influence. It was always about power. Ironically enough, one of her closest friends, Kanye, according to her, wrote a song called Power. I'm tripping off the power. No one man should have all this power. And ironically, she insinuated at some point that instead of, Charlie's memorial, she'll be listening to Kanye's Power, right? Oh, it's just a joke. Oh, you take everything too serious. I read into everything because everything is worthy of reading into, especially when, again, God gives you these eyes to see and ears to hear. And so, again, for some folks out there, they've been finding entertainment value, whatever it is in these El Cuckoo Candace videos. But as far as referring to her specifically, it's done. When God sends messengers, whether it's a little kid, a grown person at the grocery store, people will be sent to you. There has never been a time in human history where a person has not been warned over and over and over again about their sin. Over and over and over again about their pride, about their lies, about their slander, about their manipulation, and I'm not saying her with these specifically, but, about their adultery, about their fornication, about any of these sorts of things. There's not been one time when we don't get a conviction. If you truly got the Spirit in you, there's not been one. Even if you don't know him yet, you still have what is general grace, right? Shout out to Dr. Douglas Kindred. You have a general grace over your life because you're still here on earth where God's reality is still intact or God's presence is still here. But there will be a point where you are left to your own devices. Yes, it rains on the just and the unjust. It will on this earth. Not what's to come. Not what's to come. Not after the judgment. No. And so there was a prayer that we all did. And it's not to say we stopped praying, but as far as I'm concerned, it's the last of it. Again, some folks believe, oh, you're just doing it for the dime. You're doing it for the dollar. These are the same people accuse me first directly from her. Oh, you're $1,000 every time you talk about her or every time you talk about Carlson. I still haven't seen a check. Israel's paying you $7,000 for every single time. I'm like, when are they going to send the payments? For the hundreds of times that I have promoted Israel in a positive light, for every time I have been unapologetically Zionist, because my God is the creator of Zionism, and Israel is a land given by him to the Jewish people for a specific reason and purpose. Still haven't seen a check from OBB. It's crazy. I know. It's mind-boggling. But yeah, folks, this is the end of an age, the end of an era. Maybe some point in the far distant future when we look back and y'all are witness to essentially the Icarus falling from the sky, we will revisit for the simple purpose of taking notes. To remember that any of us can find ourselves in a place of unrepented sin, and that any of us can fall if we fly too close to the sun. So this ain't me signing off when it comes to, about anything else, but when it comes to her, this is my final message. And if she is looking to, and usually it happens when people hit absolute rock bottom, smack, dab, bam, head damn near cracked on the ground when they finally start to really seek God. Until then, there's a lot of buffers that just keep us in a place of comfort. And I pray that there are no buffers. So, and I don't wish for it to be a smack dab. I just wish for some point to wake up for her, right? I pray that she wakes up. And there will always be an opportunity to tap into that video, which is, I believe it was like, Candace Owens is a warning, or Candace Owens' downfall is a warning to Christians. And I put in parentheses, and it was a message about what pride does, unchecked. Pride is a sin. Haughtiness in itself is a sin. It's detestable. It's abominable to God. If you want to get to it, Lucifer, his first sin essentially committed, as far as our own understanding, was pride. So, dear Candy, all the best. I pray that today's the day you wake up, because if it's not today or the next day, again, Icarus gets closer to the sun. It looks like he's going higher. The views are going higher. More subscribers, more influence. More and more people are finally tuning in and listening. The world is accepting me. The world sees me as a somebody. And then you kiss the sun. And then comes the fall. First comes destruction. Melting off of the wings. Melting off of the flesh. And then comes the fall. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there. Or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I've been up for hours, I've been up for days, staring at the ceiling, I've been counting strays, I've been in my feelings, I've been out of mind, I've been getting visions of the other kind, I've been up for weeks, I'm in the counting blessings over counting sheep. I can never be the type to limit when it comes to me. I used to be the pleaser for the people, I ain't